Hello, I'm Chris Norton. I'm the COO of DOS. DOS is a real estate company that is building, I guess the best way to phrase it is an assistant, a voice-activated assistant for real estate, not just the buy, sell, rent phase, but the entire life cycle of home ownership. Real estate traditionally has been the only industry that sells a product that it doesn't service. People live in their homes 8 to 12 years. They interact with a realtor at best 3 months, and that's usually the worst 3-month period of their entire homeownership process because no one has an agreed upon goal. Everyone's working for somebody else, trying to make different things happen. And everyone does their best, but it's a very fragmented industry. So why is voice ideally suited for DOS, for real estate? And also, why is real estate the perfect industry to showcase the power of voice? If we're going to talk about the real power of voice, we have to acknowledge the limitations of voice. Voice by itself, voice alone, is severely limited, but it's also powered by language. We use language on a daily basis. We use it all the time. It's one of the most effective means of communication between people. By acknowledging the limitations of that and becoming a full multimodal approach to being able to service an industry, you really start to show the strengths and the weaknesses of each modality and provide true value to everybody involved in the process. What is an example of that? Let's say I'm a DOS user and I've decided I want to start searching for a home. If I go to traditional sites like Zillow, Redfin.com, I'm from Houston, they have har.com, everything you search is structure-based. 2-bed, 3-bath, under $500,000, zoned to this school. They're telling you about a structure. Nobody chooses a home that way. We all want to know what's the area, what are the amenities of that area, what other things can I find out about it, and then I'll find a structure in the area that I want to live. Language is uniquely positioned to allow us to do that. One of the best things about language versus filter box searching, when you take a filter box, you're just going through a predefined set of options that someone else put there for you. We don't know exactly why you picked it. Maybe it's not exactly what you wanted, but it's the closest thing to the things that you're looking for. In language, when you tell me exactly what you want, when you say, I want a home that is within walking distance to my house because I want to stop for coffee on the way, you also told me what you don't want at the same time. I know exactly what you were seeking. I know why you were seeking it. That's an entirely different concept versus the tick box pre-filtered things. I'm not saying there's no need for filters. There's absolutely reasons for tapping. There's absolutely reasons to be able to look at a screen and see feedback and information. One of the best things about voice is it democratizes data for everyone. If you don't understand the user interface of a complex or old website, it's limiting to people. If you're working on an English-based website, that you can speak English, but maybe reading English is difficult for you. Maybe you're dyslexic. Maybe you have difficulty seeing. You can speak to DOS. DOS will give you a verbal response if you speak to it. If you type to DOS, it will respond back in type. It responds in kind to how you do it. Multimodal is important. I've heard many people here talk about the multimodal experience, but one thing that I think we don't have a shared vocabulary on throughout this industry yet is that within voice, there's multimodalities. There's conversational, then there's reactive. It's necessary to provide both. I don't believe that we should get rid of conversational. I don't believe we should get rid of reactive. I think that you need to be able to answer each question in the way that it's asked. One of the main data points that people go for when they're first looking for a home is, can I afford a home? What type of mortgage can I qualify for? Where can I get a mortgage? That's not a reactive. I need to give feedback. I need to give answers. DOS needs to provide those answers as best they can, and we can provide accurate information. And when it's time to get down to the legal nuts and bolts of it, we can put you in touch with an expert person that is ready, and we save all of that and hand it over. Yesterday, Yellow.ai was very correct when they were talking about maintaining the trust of your users, not losing that information along the way. By controlling this transaction from end to end in the beginning and on, we are able to maintain data integrity and hand it off from each person within DOS all the way down the road. So whether you're typing, you're speaking, you decide to go through traditional search, because we do offer that, that's all being stored into your profile and handed off to the person that you decide to be connected with when you choose to. We're not selling leads, we're not selling your data, we're not doing all of this. Voice properly implemented removes barriers for people. Right now, if you go to a website and you're looking at all these boxes, you're trying to respond to what's being asked of you. Voice properly implemented allows you to tell people what you need. There's a different type of power in that. There's a different way to allow things to be done. Once you tell me what you need, I can then come back and give you pre-done options about what to ask you. But if I limit you up front, it's harder to get to the end result that you're looking for. There's a way to accomplish all of these things together. And that's what we're attempting to do at DOS. And we're growing our skill sets on a daily basis. We are constantly doing A/B testing. We're getting user feedback. We have realtors on the ground that are out there talking to people and giving us feedback, telling us what their clients want, teaching the users how to use our product. We also don't believe that AI is here to replace people. We believe that AI should be here to augment people, allow people to be better humans, remove the redundancy tasks, get things taken care of. Voice is a crucial component, but not the only one to make that happen. Many of the times we hear people talk about voice, they're still focusing on Alexa when it was the initial speaker box that had no screen. That was very limiting. I think there's a reason that Amazon's constantly pushing the screen versions now. Even they realized that wasn't the best form factor to go with from jump. We're focusing on putting it on your phone. You have that, you upgrade it regularly. If everybody has a phone, it's powerful. It's more powerful than any of the smart speakers that are out there right now, and it keeps you at the forefront of technology. So we're ready to go whenever you need it. We also have it capable to be working on a web browser. Do it on a web browser on your computer, no problem. Real estate is the perfect place to show the power of voice because it requires more than voice, and voice properly implemented relies on other pieces of a tech stack. The way real estate functions, we're able to use things like image recognition. A user doesn't know that they need user recognition to get data points, but we do. So every time a house gets uploaded to the MLS, we run it through our image recognition scan. We know that it has white cabinets. We know there's natural light in the master bedroom. We know that there's wood floors. We know there's granite countertops. We know that there's a red door. We know from the lat longs that the door faces east. These are all points that matter to different people. Through voice, and if you do the full onboarding process of DOS from the beginning and fill out your entire profile, you're able to tell us what matters to you. You can tell us, I want a door that faces east because that matters to me. I want to make sure that I have white countertops. I want to know that I'm going to A+ schools, or I don't care about schools. I care more about nightlife. By doing all of these things up front in your profile, you're going to get a completely different response when you talk to DOS than somebody else. I heard some terms I hadn't heard today. I've heard of UI. I've heard of virtual assistants. I hadn't really heard of an assistant UI versus a reactive UI. Those were new to me today. But I'm going to drop a new one because we call ours an intelligent user interface. Because depending on how you interact with DOS, the questions you ask, and what the best modality is to respond to you, the interface changes. Within that space, if you and I are looking at the same home, but I've told it up front that I care about coffee shops, mountain biking, and book clubs, and you say I care about schools and yoga and tacos, the property description page is going to show you about schools, book clubs, and tacos. It's going to show me about the information that I cared about. Same house, same neighborhood, but we want it for different reasons. Voice allows us to customize for everybody involved because you're telling us what we want. Real estate is one of the most data-rich industries in the world. They've been tracking data on real estate since they could write. Some of the first things ever written down was that field belongs to that king, that field belongs to that king. We don't need to go that far back. It's not that useful today. To me, to somebody it probably is. But we can track all of that data. We can pull it together. And if you look at it, we have a beautifully complex description of a property with way too much information for any one person to digest. How are you going to scroll through? You'd be forever scrolling. Instead, ask your questions based off what you asked. You wanted a quiet street. You wanted natural light. All of these things populate the results. You open the page and it shows you what it matches. It shows you why it matches. It lets you change it. So I want to be near a coffee shop. That's a fun problem. What does near mean? What does near mean to you? We make a guess up front. On average right now we guess 2 miles because why not? I'm from Houston. That's really close. But if you're in New York, that's kind of far. You want it closer. You can actually tell DOS near to me is 1 block. 1,000 feet, whatever. And then DOS will remember for you what near means. We have to start somewhere. People are really good at telling you what they don't want. On average, they know more about what they don't want than what they do. You say, what do you want in a house? And they, I kind of want this. Maybe I want that. I do like this. Do you want pink floors? No, I definitely don't want pink floors. So even every time they tell you something they don't want or do want, they're telling you the opposite. And that becomes useful information. It becomes useful data points that you can use to their benefit going forward. And it makes it a very efficient and very streamlined process, which is the antithesis of what most real estate companies do today. Zillow sold 125 million leads on average per year. There's on average 5.5 million closed real estate transactions in the United States every year. Efficiency does not help their bottom line. It's not useful for them. We're using every data point we can to make it as efficient as possible to allow people to ask the questions they want to ask, but at the same time, get the information back in the best multimodal approach possible. You have to show them information when they want information. You have to be able to instantly pull up what they're asking for to show them what they want to see when they want to see it and see that it's working. But at the same time, when they ask a question, you do need to answer it. And by solving these things, democratizing data for people of all capabilities, you're actually solving all of our problems at the same time, because most of us are not fully capable all of the time. For example, if you're driving, you're not looking at your screen, or you're not supposed to be. Stop it. You've got to be ready to sit, ask questions. As you're driving along, say, hey, DOS, how much is this house for sale over here? And it can respond back verbally because you asked the question. That's useful. If you're a blind person and you say, DOS, can you tell me about the homes that meet my criteria? And it's able to read back to you a description of the properties and what's necessary, what do you care about, and if they have them or not. That is useful. There's a place for conversational AI. There's a place for reactive AI. There's a place for integrating it all together and using voice as the data extraction component for the individual using it. And I think the biggest problem, I've heard people say it rightly throughout here, we have to make sure not overpromise. Don't overpromise, don't underdeliver. And as a community, we kind of have to hold people accountable that are doing that and ask them, hey, I see where you want to go. Let's be honest about where we are today and the steps it's going to take to get there. And let's work together to make it happen, because if one of us wins, it's a win for everybody. And it's just making sure that voice is given the legroom to achieve what is possible. And if we can sit here and work together and make the tiny wins along the way, we'll buy ourselves enough time to complete the uncompletable journey of perfect communication between people and computers. And that's my TED Talk. that's my brief description of DOS, UI, voice. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
So you mentioned a lot about filling out your profile. Is that something you do by voice? Do you do it online? Is it a combination of things?
Okay, so you're asking if when you're filling out your profile. Right. Right, so when a user comes in and starts using DOS and wants to fill out their profile, is it voice? Yes, it's voice. It is tap. There's actually pre-populated items, so you have the option of speaking. There's pre-populated things to give you ideas, so you can tap and select those. There's also forms to fill out as well. So it's a combination of all of the above, and you will have the choice to complete as much of it as you want, but obviously the more you fill out, the better the experience is going to be for you. All right. Yes, sir. All right, so he's asking, how much information do people give in the beginning? How much are they comfortable giving? And when do they just want to move on and start asking questions to get feedback and see how things go and how they change as they add more information? Real estate's unique in that you're used to meeting with a realtor in the first place and giving over a boatload of information to even get started. So people usually give quite a bit of information up front. We do have it to where you, without even signing up, without even creating an account, as a guest, you can start asking questions right away. Those are going to be non-personalized. That's just, you ask a very specific question, you get very specific answers, but they're not tailored to you. As soon as you start filling out your profile and telling DOS what is important to you, you're going to instantly see changes. And that in that process, they want to give more information, because as you realize that I only want to see homes with natural light in the kitchen, and that works, that's useful. You quickly want to go in, and it makes you start thinking about what else you want to speak to it about. Earlier this morning, we were having some conversations, and I thought they were great about the pain points of voice. And some of it wasn't that what's not possible today. The pain point is showing people that it is possible. And those small wins that show that you can ask a very complex question and get the accurate result is necessary. So, for example, you can go into DOS and just say, show me homes for sale in Houston, Texas, and that works. Or if you want to go in there and do a fully qualified search, show me homes for sale in Houston, Texas with 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, priced between $600,000 and $700,000, with a pool in the backyard, close to an A+ rated school with natural light in the bedroom and a red front door. You can do that too. Now, who's going to do that? Nobody. That's not a realistic use case, but I want to be able to do that because there's no reason we can't, and also internet trolls are real. Anything we can keep them from trolling us is good too. Anybody else? I will ask, my main ask for this is if anybody has an Apple phone and is interested in being a beta tester. We finally got into the Apple Store the other day. Email me at chris@askdos.com. I'll get you an invite onto the system. Android we've been testing since September. We are 12 hours into testing Apple. So that's it. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Real quick then, you're implementing right now, you're going to market, and what's your goal in terms of, like, I guess when you look at Zillow, it's all, or Redfin, you get the information on like what the price is. Mm-hmm. So they have a database. Are you going to be like doing a feed from them or from other publicly available information, so that if someone goes down the street and say, how much is this house, and they're using DOS, they can get some information? Because I wonder, like, that's
right.
Okay.
Right. So he's asking, what information are we showing? Where are we getting it from? And how does it kind of compare to what Zillow and Redfin and places show? Right. So we are a brokerage. So that means we actually have live MLS data feeds, and we are partnered with several different companies that actually provide valuations to banks. So any estimate is always going to be a little bit different from one company to the next. What we provide actually is a price range. Because if you're just asking how much is a home worth, if no one set foot in that house, we can only guess. So we'll actually show in this neighborhood based on price per square foot, it should be worth anywhere from here to here based on the information available. We'll show you where we think it probably is, but you're still going to want to go and get an inspector to go through and give you a finalized set. Yeah, exactly. We know how much is for sale. We can tell you that, but we can also tell you what the estimated value would be. Yes?
So the potential consumer versus the agent, was there a difference between usage?
So yes and no. We actually have it set up. So we have an agent CRM. We have the DOS app that everybody uses for searching. At the end of it, the difference is going to be what do you do with the information that you pull up. So the agents and the average consumer will use the exact same search app. We have a thing called the Love It board where a user can love homes, describe why they like it. That actually helps train DOS for future recommendations of other homes that they may be looking for. That if they're working with an agent, it lets the agent know they've loved these things and here's why. And then that helps them look around and help them make good decisions. It helps them, because one thing that you want to do is as you're loving homes, as you like homes early, you start searching for homes on average 8 to 10 months before you really seriously consider buying a home across the country. That's the data. A lot of that is because you're trying to figure out where do you want to live in the first place and then pick the structure within it. But as you're going through that process, it's very interesting talking to people who practice real estate all day and the pitfalls they'll be able to warn you about. You thinking that you really like something, but not understanding the pitfalls of it, that's where the agent comes into play. But yes, the agents and the users use the same app. It's just what do you do with the data that you get? Yes.
I just wanted to follow up. Didn't want to interrupt you.
No.
So all the data that you're using is just from the MLS that the listing
No.
agents put in?
No, not just that at all. So that's standard data. Actually, we actually have off-market data for every property on the ground in the country, and we run that against what the agent puts in, so we can look and see if we think it's right. Oftentimes, you'll find that one data set or the other is wrong about what school the home is zoned to. If we notice that last time this home was for sale or what was in the tax assessor records, there's a major square footage discrepancy. We also have documents for every property on the ground in the U.S., a little over 6 billion documents. So everything from permits pulled and things like that, so we're able to look and see, they've added major square footage, but no permit was ever pulled on that house. You're definitely getting one inspector to come in there and check that out and make sure it was done correctly. We source data points that Starbucks uses to figure out where they want to put their next location, but to help you figure out what neighborhoods provide the kind of amenities that you want within them. MLS data is what you get everywhere else, so we provide that also. But it's significantly more than that is what voice allows DOS to be able to do.
Can you give me an example of like the feedback, like in an MLS listing? I mean, the main piece of feedback it takes a certain art form of plus or minus is the description. What are you doing, kind of through that prism?
Okay, so he wants to know what are we doing different? What's necessary outside the traditional MLS description? Again, it's only telling you about that structure, and no one actually picks a structure first. They pick the location, the neighborhood, the lifestyle they want to live, what's going on within it, what's going on in the neighborhood around it. So we have everything from data sets to active book clubs, to yoga, to biking trails, to A+ schools, to crime rates, to rodent infestations, to mature trees, to what's the average temperature, all the different things that you can look for in an area. And then we can also tie it together to that structure. Once you're in that house, though, we continue. It's not just the buy, sell, rent at DOS. You can come in and say, DOS, I've just purchased this house. I need a plumber. I need an electrician. I'd like to update the swimming pool. I'd like to update the media room. Can you put me in touch with these people? We help you get in touch with home warranty. So it's a voice assistant for more than just the buy, sell, rent. That's the smallest portion of any part of a home ownership transaction. Like I said, that's 3 months out of your 8 to 12 year typical cycle living in a house. We're there every day the entire time. You can ask for, DOS, remind me when heavy trash pickup day is. DOS, let me know when regular trash pickup day is. Go ahead.
So I might have missed, what's the business model? Is there a subscription to this? Or?
No, so he's asking what the business model is. We are a brokerage. We are a flat fee brokerage that does participate in commissions splits when we give a lead to a realtors, but we also have a mortgage company. We also have a subscription process for all of the electricians and plumbers and everybody else who get connected through people on our platform. We also have a insurance company that we connect people together with, and we also have a nationwide deal with Vivint and ADT for home security packages. So we're taking small connection fees rather than actual getting in there and getting into the pocket heavy of anybody involved.
So if I'm a listing agent, how do I engage with you?
So all of our listing, DOS is a brokerage. We have our own realtors. We do give leads out in areas as well, though. So when people ask to be put into a house or want to list a house and we don't have an agent in the area, we do reach out and we say, here's a listing. And they take it and we do a commission split.
So you have your own photographers and things like that to get the listing?
We're working, so we are working with a network of photographers across the country. We don't, some of our agents do have their own preferred photographers they use all the time. We have minimum requirements. So we stopped requiring 3D tours because many of the clients didn't want a 3D tour of the property, but we do require that it is offered at least before a realtor doesn't offer it at all.
That was my next question. It's like, it's so visual, 3D tours, things like that.
Yes, we highly recommend it. Some people don't want to do it, so we.
How does that interact though with DOS, a 3D tour? I guess I just need to.
Right. So if you say, show me XYZ property, and you pull it up, and there's all the pictures, and it says 3D tour. You click it. You can go through it. It's not voice activated at the moment. It will be one day. That's not a super hard thing. It's just in the priority list. It's not at the top of to get that part working. And so I mean, just like you'd see any other property, there's just more information available.
So you're going to kind of compete then with the Redfin and the Zillow on SEO? How's your SEO work?
We don't. I mean, I guess we do compete with them for SEO, but for the most part, people don't go really into Google and search for properties and then click on the one that rises to the top. They try to figure out where they want to go search for properties. And by us having actual agents on the ground, working with their whole network of people, working with them, and our mortgage providers sending people into our system, we work directly with our clients. And we're seeing that we have the Love It board that I mentioned before. You can invite people in to see your properties and give feedback. So this is a natural growth process there as well. So every person who buys a house, if they want their mom to be able to look and make comments, they invite their mom in, they invite their friends in. If you're getting an apartment with multiple roommates, you can invite all of you together in one place. You share one Love It board, and so we're seeing growth in that way.
Are you familiar with some of these agent tools out there, kind of like KV Core?
Yes, like KV Core. Yes, I am familiar.
So, like, how would you kind of overlap with like a KV Core, like just say for an open house?
Right.
You know, I'm thinking that would be useful. You know, the voice kind of
And
element to KV Core.
Well, and that's why we built our own proprietary CRM. And so we are building that out to be voice activated because I can't voice activate somebody else's product.
Sure.
So what we've done is we've found the products that do work well, and working with companies like Speechly, who I love their product, we're building out some fantastic tool sets for our agents as well as the average consumers out there, because we do believe that you have to control the entire process from beginning to end to provide a good voice experience. If you're giving this great voice experience, then you hand somebody off to some third party and it's not there anymore, that disrupts the entire process. So we're building out one solution for the entire life cycle of homeownership for that very purpose. And we believe that we can actually show a good reason why voice is so important. By being narrow domain, by being real estate specific, we actually get rid of a lot of the problems that natural voice and language can create. So when you ask about, I don't know, when you ask certain questions and you're saying, what path does the sun take around my house? I don't have to wonder, did you mean my son or did you mean the sun? This is real estate. If you're asking about other stuff, go somewhere else. That's not what we're about. We instantly set an expectation. We limit what we're promising just by the fact that we're a narrow domain. And then from within that, in the onboarding process, we're very upfront about what we can do and what we hope to do in the future. And by having real realtors, real mortgage agents, real insurance agents they're able to talk to on a daily basis, they fill the gaps of what the AI and the voice tech can't do yet, and they also help level set over and over again.
How are you training those agents to do that, though?
We have weekly training sessions. So we actually have 5 standing calls a week. Not everybody has to attend every single one. They're all for different purpose. We have one called Coffee and Conversations every Tuesday. Not this week because I was here, but typically I lead that, and we discuss the upcoming tech. Here's how it works, and we have recruiter trainer managers is what we call them within DOS. I work with them individually and as a group, show them this is the next set of tech coming out. Then they go train all their agents on it. When we feel that all of our agents are at a place where they understand it and can explain it well, we roll out that feature set for the users. We don't like to throw things out and have nobody know how to use it yet.
Sure. So, I mean, you're really trying to prospect agents versus the home buyer, or is that kind of?
No, I think so. We don't prospect agents versus the home buyer. It's more, we're actually the opposite of that. So traditionally, brokers view their agents as their client.
Sure.
We partner with the agents to work with the client being the user at the end. So everything we do is to make the user's life easier. Now, part of making the user's life easier is making the agent's life easier, because if their life is easier, they do a better job. By being able to do a better job, the consumer's happier and everybody wins. So
You have like multiple revenue streams that would come from, let's say, the CRM, which would be something that the real estate agents would pay for.
Sorry, I want to clarify that part, and then we'll get to the rest of your question. Yeah. So he's asking. I'm supposed to repeat the questions so they can hear. You're asking. We have multiple revenue streams, and you're asking if the CRM is a paid product. The CRM is crucial to doing a good job, so we give the CRM for free to all of our agents. They get free access to the CRM because it helps them connect and communicate effectively with the users. with the consumers.
And so then the revenue stream comes from those added services like the
So,
referrals to like agents and
right. So every deal that closes through a DOS agent, we get a flat fee on every deal that closes, $395. But if we generate a lead and give that to one of our agents, then we commission split with them on that closed deal as well, instead of the $395. So what we do is we participate in the wins. We don't charge them for the trials.
and then if you if going forward if you have them deliver the house and need a plumber, you'd have some kind of arrangement with
So
companies.
So different than the other companies that exist, we don't charge on a per deal basis. We charge a monthly subscription fees for plumbers or electricians or pool people, and they have to pass background checks and everything like that. We're in the process now of doing that. We're actually going to roll that. We're betaing it now in Houston. We're going to roll it out full-fledged in January 2023 because we're currently doing background checks on potential partners around the country right now because we want to make sure that they are good at what they do when we connect them with a user.
So, I mean, if I'm going to go out there and interface with your product and your brokerage, I mean, you got a sign up there that says Ask DOS instead of Remax or.
It says DOS, so it actually says just DOS, the sign shaped like a map pin, got a QR code on it. Love it. You scan it, and depending on where you are and what version of the beta we have rolled out in your state, it either just takes you straight to the website or it actually opens up directly to that property and you have a little voice interface that shows up and lets you start asking questions about that property.
Okay, so that was my final question, and I think I might have missed that at the top. So that's kind of it's a kind of boots on the ground interface.
It's a full boots on the ground interface, and that's actually where most successful leads are still generated by signs in the front yard.
Yeah.
So we have that.